Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. In today's show, we have Dr. Lauren Noel, Dr. Low. She is the founder of Shine Natural Medicine. She was awarded her bachelor's degree in psychology from Biola University in La Mirada, California. During her undergraduate studies, she worked in an acupuncture clinic and discovered the beauty of natural medicine. She also developed a passion for nutrition, began pursuing a career that viewed food as medicine. To convert this passion to a career, Dr. Noel completed a 4-year graduate medical degree at the famed National College of Natural Medicine in Portland, Oregon. During her clinical years at NCNM, Dr. Noel interned at Outside In, a clinic that focuses on the health of at-risk youth and homeless teens. As a medical student, Dr. Noel was handpicked as the member of the Presidential Ambassadors Leadership Society and was a nominee of the Leadership Award and the prestigious Benedict Lust Award. Dr. Noel uses a blend of naturopathic treatments, including nutritional counseling, targeted supplementation, detoxification, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, intramuscular injections, and intravenous therapy. She welcomes men and women of all ages into her practice. Dr. Noel has a passion for teaching and takes her time to ensure that each patient fully understands her approach and the treatment plans. Her areas of expertise include digestive disorders, hormonal imbalances, and autoimmune disease. Dr. Noel is the host of the popular radio show, the Dr. Low Radio Show, which is a popular podcast on Apple Podcasts and has attracted more than 2 million plus listeners. On today's show, we're talking nutrient deficiencies, hormone imbalances, and infertility, and how these are all connected and what you can do about it. Now, let's welcome Dr. Low to our show. Hey, Dr. Low, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit more about you, how you started working in women's health and around fertility.
Well, I've always been kind of a nerd. When I was a kid, I loved just anything that had to do with health. I loved nutrition, but I wasn't the healthiest kid. I ended up having all kinds of health issues. I was getting recurrent strep throat. I was getting really bad acne in high school. And then I started to gain a lot of weight and I got really cold all the time and I was depressed. And, conventional doctors didn't have many answers for me. I was going to my Kaiser doctors and pretty much aside from just getting my routine vaccines, there was really nothing else that they would tell me that I could do. And, going to dermatologists, they were putting me on antibiotics. And I mean, I was on so many antibiotics, more than I can count before I was, 20 years old. It was awful. And finally I was put on Accutane and it didn't even work. So,
Oh my
I mean, my
goodness.
poor body, I just look back and I cringe at all the things that, my body went through so early on. And it wasn't until fast forward, I ended up seeing a naturopathic doctor, which is what I do now. And she healed me from the inside out. She cured my acne without even doing anything topically. It was just healing my gut. It was identifying food sensitivities and, a lot of other things that I do with patients. And she addressed a thyroid issue that I had, and it was just beautiful. So that was my first introduction to naturopathic medicine. And then I decided when I was finishing college that I wanted to become a naturopathic doctor, which is hilarious because I hadn't taken one science class. It was like, I took like one math class in college and then just some random, class that kind of was like science. But I just said, this is something I really want to do. So after I got my bachelor's, I went back to community college, took all my requirement courses. And at that time, because it took like 3 years to get all my requirement courses after my bachelor's, and I started shadowing an ND, and it was just mind blowing, the level, like the transformations, people coming in with incurable conditions, just amazing health, turnarounds. And so that really confirmed it for me. And I loved naturopathic medical school. It was so much fun. And now I get to have this really fun job. I help patients get healthier. I get to hear their stories. I'm not rushed. I get to spend a whole hour with them. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to help people and help their bodies heal, right? Rather than just treating their symptoms. So it's a very rewarding job I get to have.
I love that. And I've also thought about going back to school to be a naturopathic, but I'm like, I'm in my mid 40s. I don't know if that's a great idea.
It's okay. We had a lady in her 60s in my class. She did like a long distance marriage for the 4 years, and she just did it after her kids were grown and out of the house. She went back to school. So yeah, you just follow that passion.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, well, today we're going to talk about nutrient deficiencies and hormone imbalance and how that kind of ties in with our fertility. So let's talk about that. You talk about something, the most common cause of infertility, and what do you say that is?
So the most common cause of infertility is called PCOS. It ties in with other hormone issues in the body, but essentially PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome. And it's not like you have it or don't. You can have levels of PCOS. So I educate my patients a lot about that because it's kind of stereotypical that someone with PCOS is, overweight and has hair on her face and hair loss on her head and, acne and all these things, but you can have a patient with it with none of those symptoms. So it could be more of an internal kind of imbalance that you don't necessarily see on the outside. So, to have PCOS, you need to have 2 out of the 3 criteria. The first would be that there's anovulation, which means you're not ovulating or there's no menstrual cycles. The second would be that you have either signs or labs to confirm high androgens. So this would be like hair, like male pattern baldness or acne or, hirsutism, which is hair growth on the face or nipples. And then the third would be actual cysts on the ovaries. So technically you could have PCOS without cysts on the ovaries. You could just have the first 2 criteria. So it can be kind of confusing. And then sometimes I'll have labs with patients where I'll see a couple markers that would suggest it. They may not have the classic diagnosis, but treatment wise, I still treat them for PCOS and we see really amazing results with that. And it's something that's reversible. I had PCOS myself. A lot of my patients had it, no longer have it, and are able to go on and have healthy, pregnancies and babies. But it's about getting to the root of the problem. And that's the key.
For sure. And I have experienced the same where I have a lot of clients with PCOS and they come to us and they're like, my doctor said I will never get pregnant or it's going to be really hard. And we're able to reverse it, put them into remission and get them pregnant. So yeah.
And it's heartbreaking how often doctors tell their patients that they're, you're not going to have a healthy pregnancy. I created a fertility course called Golden Eggs, and my nutritionist who I worked with on it, she was diagnosed with early menopause at 28.
Oh my goodness.
And they even said IVF, it wouldn't work. And she said, screw you guys. She went to a naturopathic doctor. She got put on a plan and she had 2 healthy babies without using, even IVF or anything like that. So the body's amazing. It's resilient. It heals when you give it what it needs and remove what it doesn't need.
For sure. For sure. And that was also my story. They told me because I was 36, I had to do IVF. And I was like, but wait a minute, I had unexplained infertility, which I'm like, there's an explanation. You just don't know what it is. So
what do you attribute that to now? I'm just curious.
So I think it was 1, being on the birth control pill from a very young age. 2, I was also on Accutane, and
Wow.
3, I was a personal trainer. I worked out way too hard. I was super skinny and thought I was super healthy, and I wasn't. And so I think
Yeah.
that was just like the perfect storm of, issues. And
That's
so,
the one
yeah.
thing I see as the common theme with all my PCOS patients who are leaner is the
Mm-hmm.
overtraining part. I see that in almost every case with
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
wow. And so did
Yeah.
you go on to heal that
I
and have a
did.
transformation?
Yes. I went on to heal, and I have 2 children, had my last one at 40.
Oh my gosh,
So,
I love
yep.
that. I just had my first at 38 and I'm in a new relationship. We want to get married and I really want more kids. So that's very inspiring.
You can do it.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
I
can do
worked with,
it.
I've had clients as old as 45. I had a lady who had no cycle for 10 years and ended up getting pregnant and had a baby at 45. So it can
Beautiful.
happen.
Yep. I had a patient at 46 and she just
Yeah.
thought that she was going through menopause because her period stopped. She started gaining weight. Her friends were like, what's going on? You seem a little heavier. And she's like, whatever. Turned out she was pregnant and didn't even know. They weren't even trying.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Wow.
yep.
That's crazy. I love
Mhm.
it. So cool. So let's talk about nutrient deficiencies. How are these affecting us in our fertility?
Well, my philosophy with fertility is that when the body has what it needs, it's fertile, because you need a lot of specific building blocks to make your hormones. And
Mm-hmm.
these are called cofactors. So different nutrients are used to help enzymes work better. And so if you look at a kind of a chart of all your hormones, the first one is cholesterol. And then from there, it creates all the different hormones from there. So like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, but it all starts with cholesterol. And each one of those arrows that go to each different hormone, those reactions require an enzyme. And those enzymes require nutrients to make it work better. And those are called cofactors. So that would include different nutrients, vitamins, minerals. And so if you have deficiencies, then those particular pathways, think of them like roads, like roadblocks, they just don't happen. So then we'll end up seeing hormone imbalances. Maybe you don't have enough progesterone. Maybe you don't have enough estrogen or testosterone. These are nutrients that are really important for ovulation, for being able to create a thick enough endometrium. So having enough blood in your uterus to help basically to, help to keep an egg in place and give it the nutrition it needs. You need enough of these nutrients to have a good sex drive. So it's really essential for fertility. And so if you don't have those nutrients, then you're going to have imbalances in those areas.
Gotcha.
And also egg quality too. Your eggs, are kind of sitting in this bath in the ovaries, and the bath water is important. And so if you end up having, if you have deficiencies, then you're not going to have a lot of those nutrients to help support healthy egg quality. And so that'll impair ovulation. It'll impair the ability to, fertilize the egg, and also its ability to remain in the uterus once it's implanted. So having optimal nutrients helps egg quality as well. So lots of different ways that it ties in, but in my opinion, it's essential. And this is a big part of what's missed with, going the kind of conventional fertility route, going to IVF clinics and all of that, is they go in and they just try to force the body to get pregnant, not really looking at, okay, how nutrient optimal is your body? How about these eggs? Are they healthy eggs, or are they, subpar? So that's really my philosophy. And I never plan on specializing in fertility. Actually, it was one of those things that when I first started in practice, I was working on hormones. I was working on, leaky gut issues, and that was kind of my focus, but everyone was getting pregnant and it was the coolest thing. And I'm like, why is everybody getting pregnant when they weren't trying? Because we were helping their body to become so replete with nutrients, and it just, spilled over into fertility.
I love that. Oh, I love it. So how do we know if we're nutrient deficient? Is this something where we do some testing and some maybe food sensitivity testing?
Fantastic question. I would assume most people have some deficiencies, honestly, because a lot of us have gut issues. Our food isn't as nutritional as it used to be. We know that the soil is more depleted than it once was. So even if you're eating organic and really clean stuff, it might not be as nutritious as it once was decades ago. So I would kind of assume that most of us have them. Obviously, if you can get testing done, you can confirm that. But even just looking in the mirror, there's a nutritional exam you can give yourself. So a few things. One would be if you look at your nails and you have ridges in your nails, that could be a sign of some mineral deficiencies like zinc or calcium. Let's say you get leg cramps in your feet. That can be a clue of a magnesium deficiency. If you have bumps on the back of your arms or, red skin, that could be a clue of vitamin A deficiency. If you look at your hands and they're real pale, or if you push on your nails, and they turn white and take a long time to become pink again. Or if you look, kind of pull your right here below your eyes and look in the mirror, and it's real light. Those are all clues of low iron. So, those, and another clue is if you have a white line around your mouth, that can be a clue of a zinc deficiency. So, just all these really interesting things that can show up by doing an exam on yourself. But I like to do the data. I like to do the testing. We run a panel here that looks at micronutrients, and they check both within the serum, so it's floating around in the blood, and also within the cells, what your nutrient levels look like. So this is going to look at things like magnesium, zinc, calcium, all your B vitamins, so B1 through 12. People talk about taking B12, but you have B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B9, all of these nutrients are essential. And it also checks different amino acids. It checks antioxidants. So making sure things are optimal and not just average, but above average.
And then is it the same for sensitivity testing? Would you recommend that? And is that important?
I do think it's important. Yeah. I had a patient of mine who, she did everything. And it wasn't until we addressed her gluten sensitivity that she finally got pregnant and had, and actually had 2 kids. So, and the reason why is because when you have food sensitivities, that your body's creating inflammation, it's reacting to. So it can put your body in that fight or flight state, which pulls from your hormones. The other part is it damages your digestive system. And so what your gut, if you zoom in on your gut under a microscope, it should look like shag carpet. And so these are little finger-like projections. They help your body to absorb nutrients, because if you were to stretch it all out, it's the size of a tennis court. So it's a lot of surface area. So it allows vitamins to come through. And so if that's worn down because of leaky gut, it looks like tile. It doesn't look like shag carpet anymore. So you really significantly reduce the absorption factor, and then you can get deficiencies. So all those different nutrients I talked about can be a result of food sensitivities if they're not addressed.
Gotcha. I know we do that here. We run food sensitivity tests, and it's crazy. Some of the things people are sensitive to.
I know.
They think they're eating so healthy. And then like my one client a few days ago, it was almonds. And she was like, I drink almond milk. I eat almonds. Like,
yep. I see that all the time. Yeah. And what happens is when you have something like leaky gut, you may not know that you have it. And so by eating all of the same foods every single day, the body kind of pushes back, and it wants variety. It can be too irritating. So I know it can be a bummer. I see probably the main ones, definitely gluten is number one. Also dairy. I'm sure you see these. Corn, is a missed one a lot. Soy, citrus can be up there. And then eggs. Eggs is a common one. And that's such a hard one to eliminate. I think even harder than gluten.
Yeah. She was
also, like, that's all we eat for breakfast in our culture is eggs.
Yep. She was also sensitive to eggs. So she was almonds and eggs and chicken. And so I was like, oh no.
No. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I tell people that the food isn't the enemy. That's not really the root of the problem. It's about healing your digestive system. And then you can reintroduce these foods. So it's never the goal to be super limited long-term, right? It's just removing them for a period of time, letting your body heal, and then you can have that balance again.
For sure. So let's touch on really quickly hormone imbalances. I know we talked about that a little bit earlier, but how important is that to know where our hormones are at? So we also recommend testing for that. And then how would we know if they were off without testing?
It's essential to get your hormones tested, even when you feel great, just to get a baseline and see what your levels look like, because everyone is so different. And so I encourage my patients, even in their teens, even in their 20s, get your hormones tested. It's never too early to test your hormones. You don't have to be in menopause to get a hormone test. So doing that is fantastic. There are different ways to test hormones, and I think it's really important to work with someone that knows all those nuances, because you can get the wrong interpretation depending on how they're tested. So in my practice, I test either in the saliva or in the urine. I do blood testing as well. So I like to kind of combine and see how, they match up and are balanced out, because there's pros and cons to each one, really. But you can have a general sense if you have a hormone issue, if you have kind of any symptom, really, because your hormones do everything. Your hormones affect the way you think, the way you feel, the way you sleep, how your mood is, how your energy is, everything, your sex drive, your metabolism, your motivation. I mean, literally everything you can feel comes down to hormones. And so, I think of the main imbalances that I tend to see. Hormone issues would be hypothyroidism. Most of the time it's Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition. PCOS, like we talked about, oftentimes I'll see something called estrogen dominance. And then, obviously as women get closer into menopause, we'll see some imbalances there that come with that transition too. So those are probably the main ones, and each one come with some specific types of symptoms, and sometimes it's all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I always say, like, your body is especially your cycle and your period, it's all your report card. So if you're having a lot of symptoms around that, and then just any symptoms in general, it's usually hormones. So
exactly.
let's test those.
And our periods should be pretty easy, really.
Yes.
So, it's not normal to have a difficult period. It's common to have a difficult period, but it's not normal. So, how it should feel is you should feel pretty good throughout the month, regardless of where you are in your cycle. And I will say, before your period, you might feel a little bit more kind of introspective. Maybe you don't have as much, for energy as you do when you're ovulating. So it's normal to have some fluctuations in how you feel, but you shouldn't feel like you want to bite your husband's head off. You know what I mean? Right. You shouldn't feel like you have road rage right before your period, or get migraines, or, sugar cravings, or all these things. These are clues that there's something that needs to be addressed. So how it should feel is you have pretty good energy throughout the month. Your period starts and you shouldn't really have too much issues like cramps or breast tenderness or all of that. And if you do, then that's a clue that something needs to be looked at.
For sure. I love when people are like, oh my gosh, my period came and it went and I never even knew it was coming, and
it was a breeze.
Gone. I was like, that's awesome. That's
the goal. Be. Yep.
Yes.
It's very doable.
Yeah, for sure. And so is this the same with our partners? Should they also be worried about their nutrient deficiencies and their hormones and all of that?
That's a fantastic question. I think it's really important for the guys to be looking at that too, especially with fertility. I love when my patients come in, it's their, husband and wife coming together and they want to do the testing. And absolutely, sperm health requires some of those nutrients as well. So we'll look at things like selenium, CoQ10, zinc, looking at different omega-3s. Glutathione. These are all nutrients that help the sperm to be produced properly, to have the right motility, which basically means they move properly, that they're not deformed. You can have like double-headed sperm, just weird, mutations like that. So having them be healthy and be able to be efficient and, fertilize, that's all of those require, the proper nutrients for that too.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. I love it. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk practical tips on how we can start to solve our infertility puzzles. So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. Hey, Dr. Lowe, welcome back.
Hey, thanks to have me back.
Yes. So let's talk quick tips. What are maybe your 5 go-tos that people can start to do today to start to solve that puzzle?
Great question. I would say first off is get some testing done. Don't guess, really do the testing and see where you're at, because everyone is so individual, and the rest of what you can do oftentimes comes from that information. Aside from that, get your stress under control. So stress is the biggest killer of sex drive. It really impacts women's hormones, men's hormones. So just looking at your life, if you don't have time to be able to slow down, then there's something that needs to be adjusted, right? So working on your sleep, making sure that you're able to get to sleep, stay asleep, wake up with some energy, turning off the technology. So rest and sleep is really key. I would say the third would be to really get your gut health addressed. So the root of everything that I see in my practice is healthy gut function. So, if you're having symptoms like bloating or gas or constipation or diarrhea, doing some work to identify, are you sensitive to a food? Is there, are you having issues because maybe you were on a bunch of antibiotics throughout your life? So addressing that is really key, because then you're going to absorb nutrients as optimally as you can. The fourth one would be to exercise properly. So we know that, women who exercise, they have better hormone balance. They have more, healthier ovulation, but not too much. Like with your story, you don't want to be over exercising because that's going to be at the detriment of your hormones. And then the fifth would be to eliminate toxins in your environment. So looking at what you're using for body care products, for, hairsprays, for cleaners in the house, all of these things we know can be endocrine disruptors, and they can really alter your hormones, alter your estrogen levels, and impair ovulation. So those would be probably my 5 top tips.
I love it. And I agree with all of those. So let's talk about egg quality. What should we be eating for egg and for sperm quality? What should we be eating?
So the first stop is healthy fats. One of the things I test with my patients is their omega-3, their omega-6 levels, their arachidonic acid levels. And in our diet, our standard American diet is just laden with omega-6s and not enough omega-3s, right? So that's going to create more inflammation and impair egg quality. So avoiding the processed oils, the fried foods. I strongly recommend to not cook in vegetable oil, which is soybean oil. It's genetically modified. It has pesticides in it. It's just crap. So swapping those types of oils for the good stuff. So like olive oil, don't cook with it. Use it in salads for cooking, avocado oil, coconut oil, maybe butter, ghee. These are fats that are more stable at high temperatures. So that really helps with that balance of the fats in your body, and that helps to balance out the inflammation. Also lots of antioxidants. So the rainbow diet, using fruits and vegetables of all colors. And that helps to bring in those different antioxidants that help to prevent DNA damage that damages egg quality. And then there are certain superfoods that I love. So oysters are very high in zinc. I love oysters. I love things like liver. It might not be the most palatable or attractive food for people, but liver is nature's multivitamin. So from really clean sources. If you're not sensitive to them, I love eggs. We know that egg yolks have some, beautiful nutrients, choline and vitamin A and other important nutrients for fertility. And then just to harp on fats again, I really love my patients, especially my ladies, to have a good amount of good fats in their diet. So I love butter. I love ghee. So that again, our hormones are made from cholesterol, right? So if you have a low fat diet, it's really going to impact your fertility big time. So those are probably the main ones I would say. And then, again, doing deficiency testing, because then from there you can figure out what specific nutrients or supplements you might need.
Perfect. And then is that the same for our partners?
It is the same for the partners. Yep. Good antioxidants, limiting some of the inflammatory things, obviously sugars, right? And then alcohol, caffeine. Too much of these things just create that stress in the body and impact eggs and sperm.
And where do our supplements fit into this?
Fantastic question. I get this question a lot. Like, if you eat a great diet, do you even need supplements? And I say, yeah, I think everyone needs a multivitamin just to cover your bases. But generally for fertility, my patients, I typically have them on an antioxidant formula of some sort. So NAC, glutathione, that's going to help, reduce free radical stress and damage and help with detoxification. Also, I'll think about things like selenium. We know that selenium helps egg quality and sperm quality. Vitamin C. I mean, it's an incredible nutrient that helps with so many different things, obviously immune function, but also antioxidant function as well. Vitamin E is an important one as well. And then, omega-3s, zinc. So these are all things I tend to think of for my fertility patients. CoQ10. We know CoQ10 is important for egg and sperm quality as well. So yeah. And there's a lot of similarities with the men and the women.
For sure. I love it. So any advice you want to give us? Anything you maybe somebody who just started this journey or somebody who's kind of been on it for years, what would you say?
Just a pep talk to not let certain providers get in your head that your fertility is just where it's at, that it's a stagnant thing, that it can't be improved. We know that is the furthest thing from the truth. So if you've gone to clinics where they say you can't get pregnant, or, they talk about geriatric pregnancies, it drives me nuts. It's like, how disrespectful of a term can that be? Right.
Right.
So no, I mean, just looking at your body, you have a greater chance of, if you get pregnant when you're, past 35, you have a higher chance of staying pregnant than not staying pregnant. And there's this real fear that you're going to have a miscarriage, right? It's not true. And so having that confidence, trusting the wisdom of your body, we were created in a beautiful design, and it's just brilliant the way that we're created and our bodies know how to heal. So having that trust and that, just that confidence in your body is the best advice I can give. And then when you work with a doctor, you need to feel confident about it. You need to feel like they're listening to you. If you feel like they're dismissing what you're saying, find somebody else. There's enough good doctors out there that you don't have to put up with it.
Yeah, for sure. And I always tell my clients, your doctor works for you. And so if they're not going to listen to you, then find somebody who will. And you guys are a team. And so
I always tell my patients that, because I love, collaborating with patients' primary cares. And I let them know, like, you say to them, hey, I need you to run this. And if you don't, then I'm going to find someone else. Like, it's okay to speak like that. It's not disrespectful. You don't have to put your doctor on a pedestal. This is like a partnership. You're on the same level.
Yes, for sure. And so as we close out, tell us where we can find you. How can we learn more about you?
So I have a podcast, Dr. Lowe's Show. I've been recording it for almost 11 years now. So check me out. They're all free episodes on every single thing you can imagine. Lots of episodes on fertility, hormone balance, gut health, detoxing. I even have an episode for, healthy care for dogs and cats, baby care, anything really. So you can get lots of great things there. And then you can follow me on Instagram, Dr. Lowe. So Dr. spelled out _LO. And then my practice is Shine Natural Medicine. So I'm here in San Diego. I work with patients locally and all over the country. So if one of you guys are listening, you need some help, I'm happy to help. And I know, Kayla, you guys work with clients as well. So you have lots of resources, and definitely reach out if you guys need some support.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And I would love to hear any final thoughts or, just maybe your favorite quote before we close.
Well, I don't know if this is a Christian podcast, but I'm a Christian. And for me, I can be very in my head and anxious about things. So for me, it's Proverbs 3:5. It's trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll make your path straight. And so for me, it's like, I don't have all the answers, and I just got to trust. There's someone outside of us, right, who knows better, and not getting too far ahead. Because I remember hearing too, it's like, if you have a foot in the past and the foot in the future, you're pooping on today, right?
Right.
So just stay in the present and just trust the day, trust the moment, trust your body.
Amen to that. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's so fun meeting you.
Wonderful to be here. You too.
And thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.